Hi guys, so we're going to take a quick detour from my usual content. We're going to go through how I produced Industry Baby by Lil Nas X and Jack Harlow. So starting off, I have this reference track here, and the reference track is just the actual song itself. I'm not going to play it here because this video gets instantly hit with a copyright strike, so I'm going to avoid that. Starting off with the trumpets, naturally, because this is a trumpet playing channel. What I do to figure out notes, I take a MIDI track, I throw a grand piano in it, play the notes out on piano, and I listen to it a lot till I can determine that I've played the right notes. And then to go from piano to trumpet, all the notes go up by one step. So you're going from a C to a B flat instrument. So in this case, the introduction is made up of D sharp, A sharp, and D sharp. So on a trumpet, this would correspond to F, C, and F of the next octave. So this is what the beginning sounds like on the piano. And now on a trumpet. Most important part with the trumpet is you want to get that forte piano. You want to hit that note hard, go back down and back up. If you're going to replicate this with MIDI, just make sure you have that using whatever MIDI controls you would like. Then for the actual trumpet part that repeats over and over again, these are the notes. You can screenshot this and look at it. You can find marching band arrangements that has this as well. I personally use whatever arrangement of those notes I could easily hit octave-wise, and that wasn't going to stress me too far. Trumpet part alone just sounds like this. And then that part is just going to loop over and over and over again. If you want to figure out where it's not going to loop, you need to listen real close to your reference track or the actual song and just figure out where it is playing, where it is not playing, and then you can cut parts out accordingly. The other part you want to remember with the trumpet track are these little zones here where the auto filter kicks in. This is an auto filter right here. You just kind of isolate out high-ish end, not quite the high end, it's more like mid-range of the frequency spectrum. So that sounds like this whenever it comes in. The reason why the trumpets get filtered at those sections is so that the vocal parts can be more easily heard. This is specifically the rapping parts, so of course the actual words are the only things that matter here. I actually didn't do this in my cover, so I had to severely compensate by dropping the volume. Don't be like me. Properly filter out the trumpets, it'll sound a lot better. All right, let's skip over the 808s here and talk about the drum track. Now, the drum track is only comprised of 6 sounds, and all of these sound samples are from any of the free kits that you can download whenever you buy Ableton. And all I do to isolate these sounds out, I listen to the reference track over and over again, and I just pick out, okay, this clap sounds kind of close, or this snare sounds kind of close, and this is what I ended up with. So we have this clap, snare, rim shot, kick, closed hi-hat, then an open hi-hat. And how you arrange these sounds, you just need to listen to the song over and over again, and as you're going through it, line up the sounds, and then listen back through it with just your track soloed out, and see if it sounds right. The key thing with this song is you want to keep in mind, after hits 2 and 4, sometimes you have a silence in your hi-hats, and that kind of allows the song to breathe a little more, and it gives you a sense of anticipation, and that's really important. So this part right here. You want to also pay attention with this song in particular to where the rim shots are. For example, right here. The rim shots kind of go on to offbeats, and it really just keeps the beat going, so you want to pay attention to where those are. And you also want to pay attention to where you have these groupings of 4 snares right here. Again, just further things to build momentum and keep the song driving forward. So this drum track was actually a little different than most songs I do, where it's the same like 2 or 3 patterns, you use copy-paste throughout the whole thing. That didn't really apply to the song. I really had to pay attention, and the drum track probably took me the most time than of most songs. So just be patient with it, and you'll really like the result that comes out at the end. All right, now let's talk about the 808. In general, I am not very good at 808s, so take my advice here with a grain of salt. I'm just going to show you what has historically worked for me for these little cover instrumentals that I would hardly consider them to be quality. So here we have a hip-hop sub bass, and this is another default plugin from Ableton. I did not custom make this one. I find that it typically serves my purposes. Just turn up the distortion a little bit. I wouldn't crank it any higher than 25, I believe, on this, or it gets a little bit nuts, a little overwhelming. You want to put on a saturator to just widen it out, beef it up a little bit. You want to put a compressor on so that you make the start of the 808, the attack, dip out a little more whenever your kick comes in. The reason why you want to do that is because 808's low end of the frequency spectrum, your kick drum typically also low end on the frequency spectrum. Both those come in at the same time, you will typically peak out your lower channel and it will make your track sound really muddy, or worse yet, it'll just blow out your master, and you really don't want to do that. As you can tell, note-wise with the 808, there's only 5 notes in the entirety of the 808 track. The rest of it's just grayed out because of how I split the track. And the patterns, for the most part, as you can see, just taking a quick scroll through here, are pretty simple. You just want to, again, just like with the drum track, listen real closely to the song, pick out what pattern is in what place. And with the 808, it's a little more common than the drum track is. You can do a lot of copy paste with this. If you want an example of what I mean by dipping the 808 out for the kicks, listen to this part a little bit. It's a little quiet because of how I have this tuned out in OBS, but you can hear the 808's ducking out of the way a little bit because the compressor is kicking in from the kicks, which are above in the drum track. And it can take some practice. I'm still not very good at it, but you just want to get a sense of how much you need to duck that out so that you don't blow out your master volume. All right, guys, and that is the basics of how I produce Industry Baby by Lil Nas X and Jack Harlow. There is actually a channel that I have. I'm not going to give you the name of it, but you can find it, where I actually post the full instrumental, all 2 or 3 minutes of it, and you can even download the YouTube video if you wanted to, so you have just the instrumental version. But it does have the trumpets. If you want the version with just the drums and the 808, gonna have to do it yourself. All right, guys, I'll see you next week. Cheers.